Maxwell has been sentenced to 20 years in jail for child sex trafficking. But joining me now is Lady Victoria Hervey, who is in the same social circles as Ghislaine Maxwell, and Robert Maxwell's biographer, Tom Bauer, is still with me. Well, thank you for racing in to talk about this. I mean, you knew Ghislaine Maxwell for a long time. You socialised with her. What do you make of this? I mean, apart from anything else, it's an astonishing fall from grace. But what do you think of the sentence?
It is. I think the sentencing is fairly predictable. I mean, this is what her lawyers did ask for. They asked for 20 years, which is more lenient than what was being requested. But I think she will be obviously not happy, but she's probably happy that it's not more than 20. And I think for good behaviour and things like that, the fact that she's already been in there for a couple of years, that'll all come into play, and I think she'll end up being... It'll be a lot.
Do you have any sympathy for her?
I think, you know, knowing what I do, a little bit, but not so much. Really.
I mean, the theory she wants us to... Well, what she wants us all to believe, notwithstanding the conviction and everything else, she wants us to believe that Epstein was the monster, that he hoodwinked and conned everybody. As she put it, she conned godfathers, mentors, benefactors, friends, lovers. She was reportedly a lover.
Well, the fact is, you know, he died and she's taken the rap of it. And the fact that if...
Doesn't mean she doesn't deserve it.
No, it doesn't mean that, but it means that the whole focus has always been on Ghislaine because there's no Epstein to blame. So all the girls, everyone, the blame has just completely gone to her. And I think that is unfair in a way. Obviously, she deserves, you know, to be in jail, but the fact that there's no one else to take the blame.
But if she did what she did...
And she will be dead as well. Like, I give it 6 months, she'll have a hit on her in the jail.
Well, certainly after what happened to Epstein.
Just like Epstein.
Well, they'll be very careful, I'm sure, not to let it happen. Tom, you know, you've studied the Maxwells for so long. It's an extraordinary, dramatic rollercoaster ride, this family. One of her brothers came out only last week with a very sort of painful interview, as you'd expect from a brother, I guess. There's a pleading for mercy for her and insisting his sister is innocent. Is it possible that she was, like everybody else apparently was with Epstein, conned by this guy?
Absolutely not. She's a product of Balliol College. She's a highly intelligent woman. She knew exactly what she was doing. All the people I've spoken to who were picked up by her or seduced by her in parks, jumping out of cars, asking them to come. For years on end, she was working for Epstein, and I think the relationship was unbelievably sordid and criminal. And I think Ian, who got away himself, was found not guilty of fraud in a trial which I thought would go the other way, but he was found innocent thought that Ghislaine should have the same treatment, that Maxwell's never get convicted. But, you know, the whole point about Ghislaine is her defence was absolutely useless. She put up no defence whatsoever, having promised the public that she was going to defend herself. And most important of all, didn't go into the witness box. That was the most self-incriminating part.
Yeah, and whenever people don't do that, there is always a feeling, well, that they must not want to risk incriminating themselves, right?
Right, yeah.
The Prince Andrew aspect of this. So he has come to this settlement with one of these victims, Virginia Giuffre, to the tune of... Well, we'll come to you in a moment, because I know your view about this.
Are you the guy that wrote the book?
Well, he wrote a book about Robert Maxwell, her father.
Okay.
But you know, a multi-million-dollar lawsuit reported up to $11 million. Having said he was going to clear his name and fight in court, he then caved and gave her a cheque. Where does he now? He's trying to make a comeback in public life that nobody's got much appetite for. How damaging is this conviction, do you think, to his chances of ever returning?
Oh, I think hugely damaging. I think Andrew is finished. I think the public is sick to death of him. And I'm afraid his brother will have problems too, I think, with all the taking millions of euros in cash. So I think that the royal family really needs to bury Andrew. The photograph is absolutely genuine.
Well, that photograph...
that photo is fake.
Well, Victoria,
just so you know,
Victoria, you say...
The photo is fake. Look at the picture in front of me. Look at it.
You say this, but you don't know that picture.
I know, because I'm in touch with the person that took those pictures, and it's not Andrew in the picture, it's Epstein.
I thought...
I've seen the real picture.
Well, if that picture's fake, why didn't he go to court and clear his name?
Because I found the guy that took the pictures after he'd done the settlement.
What's his name?
I'm not telling you. No one knows this yet.
I see.
Who the Sorry, but
no,
sorry, I'm not going to swear.
I apologise for the language of
Sorry, but I am in touch with the person that took the photo. And interestingly enough, she did meet him in a park. you said about her picking up people in a park. But he is...
Why did Prince Andrew give her $11 million if he's a completely innocent man?
The proof that I had, I was in the middle of digging it all up. And the evidence I had when someone came to me, which to be honest, I thought this guy was nuts. When he first sent me a picture of this famous picture that we're so used to seeing, but it had Epstein's head in it. I looked at it and I thought...
Yeah, but people can muck around with pictures these days. Honestly, I've seen it. It was happening when I was on a newspaper 15 years ago.
I have a signed affidavit with exactly how the story went down, and I've had police visit this guy, and I've had detectives...
So again, why would Andrew then, if that picture's
He'd already paid her. He'd paid her.
But Andrew wasn't even able to really deny that picture was real.
But why didn't you give
Which meant he'd been in that room, he'd been in that house, he'd been on that floor.
Guys, Ghislaine photoshopped it. She's the one that photoshopped it.
So why didn't Andrew fight his case? Why give the woman
he'd already
$11 million?
Her. He'd settled as I was unravelling it. I didn't have the guy that took the pictures when he settled. This happened like a few weeks afterwards.
Right. Tom, the reality is that Andrew paid this cheque, having said he'd clear his name. I agree with you. I think it's very hard to see a way back, particularly given that he hasn't even tried to make any sort of atonement for it, right?
Not only
the real story will always come out.
We've moved on. I don't think that the public has any appetite for Andrew's atonement. I think the royal family has so many problems now. The last thing they need is a resurrection of Andrew. And the most important thing now, I think, is for Andrew to disappear, Ghislaine to disappear, and this story finally reaches an end.
Well, no, because there's so much more to unravel.
Well, we'll see if it unravels. You socialised with Epstein and Ghislaine, right? You've been at dinner parties with them.
Yeah.
So what was the deal with these dinner parties?
What do you mean, what was the deal with these dinner
parties?
parties?
Who was there? What were they doing? What was the atmosphere?
It's the normal situation that you would see, like in Saint-Tropez, you know, wealthy men with young girls.
Right.
His crowd, you know, who you would see, I don't know.
We're just looking at live pictures here. There's two of Ghislaine Maxwell's sisters outside the courtroom, and we'll go to them if they do speak to the media waiting there.
Yeah, I remember, like, the
You say a normal thing. I mean, the truth is we now know...
like models that...
but we now know they were trafficking young girls for abuse.
And then these traffickers became traffickers, didn't they? Like Virginia, she became a trafficker.
Well, no, these are allegations that have not been substantiated.
She's admitted it on television as being a recruiter.
You have to be very careful about what you say about people who've not been convicted of crimes, right? We're not in a court of public opinion here, when we are, but not where you can make defamatory allegations about people.
I'm repeating things of people
I'm curious. You were at these dinner parties.
On television.
You say it was like a sort of Saint-Tropez dinner party, but the truth is, it was unbelievably malevolent what was going on.
Yeah.
Ghislaine Maxwell was sourcing these young, sometimes underage girls for the delectation of this paedophile billionaire, Jeffrey Epstein. I'm just curious.
And his
I met her for 5 minutes at a book launch.
I
never met Epstein. Oh, she was perfectly charming to me, as you expect from everyone who's met her, as told. I didn't know anything about this side of her life, obviously, and I never met Epstein. But I am curious, what was the hold this guy had on so many rich, famous, powerful people?
Well, it was blackmail. So he enticed them in, and he got blackmail on all of them. So she would record, she would do her own recording. So they would have a situation, get these girls, get them in political characters in situations with girls. Epstein would record it, and Ghislaine would tell the survivor girls I'm in touch with, she would get her own insurance. She called it insurance, and they would have the peepholes of hotels. There was a hotel in Canada. Epstein was operating in Canada before the US.
But if you were there, if you were one of the girls at these parties, did you ever get seduced into joining in any of the activity or not?
I mean, not that I can remember, no. I didn't sleep with any of his friends.
Right.
Was I there to entice them in? Probably, you know. I had a title, and it was probably respectable having somebody like me there where the other girls wouldn't feel so nervous. They would think, oh, this girl, Lady Victoria, OK, she's there, so I'm not going to be scared being around these men.
What do you feel now that we know the truth about Epstein?
Yeah.
Put Ghislaine Maxwell to one side for a moment. But now we know what he was like, that he was this disgusting, depraved, predatory paedophile.
Yeah, he's like a serial killer.
What do you feel about that?
Well, I watched all his depositions that he did, the recorded ones, and those are really freaky. It really brings out his character. There's this one video where he completely says, I have no recollection of Virginia, and he makes the guy spell out Virginia as in all the letters and says, what is that? And the guy has to spell out V-I-R. You know what I mean? Complete psychopath.
Tom, it's a horrible, heinous crime, both by Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Potentially others were involved. We don't know if we're going to find out who they were or what they may have done or what they saw. But when you look at the Maxwell story, you wrote this extraordinary book about Robert Maxwell. Could you ever have imagined that this would happen with Ghislaine?
No, and I knew her, first of all, when she was a very small girl, when I first met Maxwell in 1973, and she was just a tiny little girl, a sweet little girl. I next saw her actually in Saint-Tropez when I was at a party, a British property developers party, and she was pretty sinister by then. I mean, I don't think Robert Maxwell ever imagined. Robert Maxwell was a tyrant, but he bullied her. And undoubtedly she was attracted to Epstein because he was powerful and rich, and she was perverted. I mean, that is, in the end, the truth.
Well, it is the truth, because tonight she's been sentenced to 20 years in prison for helping Jeffrey Epstein traffic and abuse young girls. It's a despicable crime, and she is appealing, and we'll see what happens with that appeal. But if she fails the appeal, she'll probably spend the rest of her life in prison. Thank you both. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Tom, for coming in. Appreciate it.